In a certain way, the COVID-19 forced European leaders to see the world with different eyes. First, you have this kind of a disaster, medical disaster, in which people understand much better how much dependent we are on each other. But secondly, we saw also how lonely we are in the world. The United States did not play the role that people expected to play. China came much more aggressive than people expected. So as a result of it, many people who are not particularly impressed how the European Union behaved in the initial months of the crisis understood that the only option for Europe these days is to try to consolidate. So yes, there was a nationalistic moment in the first days of the crisis, but after that, basically the limits of the nationalism has been imposed. There was, in my view, this wrong assumption that this type of a crisis works very well for different types of authoritarian leaders and regimes. And this is not true. And you can see this in the case of Mr. Trump in the United States, with Bolsonaro in Brazil and others. It is true that authoritarian leaders like crisis, but they like crisis that they can control. This crisis is very strong, exposing the weaknesses of the state, the inefficiency. Basically, the populists, for the moment at least, are much more the victim of the crisis than the beneficiary of it. Psychological base on which support for populists is based is not fear but anxiety. What is important about pandemic is not about anxiety, it's about real fear. It's the fear of being infected, it's the fear of dying. The roots of support for the populist parties has been changed because when you're anxious, you're looking for somebody who is going to represent your anger. When you're really fearful, you're looking for somebody to protect you. So as a result of it, it was the governments and not the populists that basically benefited, at least on this first stage of the crisis.